All right, man. Legacy Lounge. Sometimes people want to talk.
We have an incredible guest here.
What's up, brother?
The definition of the Legacy Lounge is the stuff that he's putting together. He's a great community leader. His story is amazing.
And welcome back
Let's go.
to the Legacy Lounge, episode 10. And if you haven't noticed, the lounge looks a lot better than it normally does because we are on site of our favorite place down in St. Helena, Brasswood, and we get to speak to two of our favorite people in the world, co-founder Marquez, as well as the world-renowned winemaker Angelina Mondavi. Thank you for allowing us to be in this beautiful place that we love so much today.
Thank you for having us on. We're excited.
Very excited.
Love it.
So we're in the winemaker's den. Is that correct?
Yes.
So for the viewers that are watching and people that are just listening, what do you guys use this specific room for?
Oh, yeah. We use this room to do private tastings and experiences, as well as occasionally a dinner or two will be held in here for if you want a really intimate experience. And it's an awesome vibe in here.
Well, we love it. Sam's been taking good care of us. We walked in. We know that there's a new gal that's working in there. If she didn't know who we were, so when I was just kind of like barking orders, she's like, "Excuse me, I don't know, who you are." And Sam walked in. Sam's like, "Just give him a bottle. Just give him a bottle and get away." So, so some introductions. Marcus, I've met Marcus. I'm pretty sure we're coming close on a decade, but even before I met you, I knew of you because you are a Sacramento native. I know that you're not a Sacramento native?
Oh, go ahead, continue.
Okay. Well, let's just say this. Marcus, I know him from Sacramento. He calls St. Helena his home, right? Would you call St. Helena your home?
Yes.
Okay. Big, my favorite restaurant ever that was in Sacramento was a restaurant that Marcus owned that I was a frequent of, the El Wine Lounge. And we'll dive into that a little bit, but what we want to hear from one of you guys is we want to hear the inception of Brasswood. So I don't know if Angelina or Marcus wants to talk about this, but we want to talk about how in the heck did Brasswood start and what is the backstory on that?
Very good question. Do you have a second one that I can answer?
Rene?
That's the last one. And I mean, that's all we're here for.
One and done.
There's a lot of ways that this story could go, how Brasswood was conceived, it is, in the wine world, wine and wineries and concepts get developed very long before it even gets launched onto for people to come and visit. So I just happened to be building Goose and Gander back in 2010, 11, and we launched Goose and Gander in 2012. And while I was doing that, this project was being built as a winery and a village, but at the time, I met who I built this with, Stacia, and she had never done it before, but she was graduating top of her class in winemaking. She wanted a facility that we could make wine at. And as we started talking, it just became a perfect partnership of her skills and my skills. During that time, we were still in construction, and we really got to start developing what the place was going to look like, from the design to this room, the winemaker's den, the restaurant, the caves, the winery. And at that point, because my background is development and concept building and branding and restaurants, I was able to run with this and exclusively design the concept around Brasswood. So in 2015, we were about ready to finish construction. We had a working name for the winery just to get it activated. And then in 2016, when we finally finished the caves, finished the gallery, it was time to name the place. And that's where it's interesting because I always ask where the name came from, and just to hear what people say. But truly, if you've been to Brasswood or been to our property, you will notice that a lot of our materials on the property are wood and brass. And Brasswood was born, and it was a name that wasn't taken.
Shocking.
And, because I submitted a few names, and our lawyers were like, you could probably use it, but the people that might sue you because it's so close to their name and they have more money than you and all that fun stuff. So we were able to coin Brasswood. It was available, got the domain brasswood.com. And we started running with that. And one of the cool things about the name is that as you are growing into it, just before we're like making our first vintage, brass and wood are elements that, the brass is sophisticated like wine and wood is rustic like wine. So brasswood is like the elements of wine. And so the play on that, and just to always remember with the name of what we're drinking. And so, which was really exciting, is in the restaurant established. We had an iconic restaurant in Napa Valley in St. Helena that was closing in 2015 called Trevigny. And Trevigny was owned by the Harlans.
On the way here, we were driving, and our buddy, I was like, have you eaten at Charter Oak? And he's like, no, but I've eaten at Trevigny. Which
Yeah.
I believe was
The same location.
Got it.
And so the Harlans and the Bills that owned Trevigny closed at the end of the year after 28 years of being an iconic restaurant in the valley. Well, at the time, I was doing my normal afternoon martini sitting at the bar, and I went to, and I was like, maybe I could grab some of the employees from this restaurant. Well, the next day, the whole team showed up to my office, and I literally hired them all, turned all the lights, and they ran with it for
way.
7 years.
That's how it happened?
That's how it
Wow.
happened.
Including chef or no?
Chef, dishwashers, somms, GMs.
All of it.
It's got to be
Servers.
the dimples.
It's got to be the dimples. Yeah, the wrist. They're like, oh, she's happy. And then that started to bring this property alive. It started becoming the Vintners Village. On the first night, Angelina and her family dying, I remember seeing you at the table of pictures with your mom and dad, and everybody in the community came and supported us. And that allowed Angelina to really get to know our vineyards, because again, with Brasswood, we only make wine from vineyards we own, and to get to know her winemaking style with these vineyards and really take her time to be patient on making a statement on what's her legacy going to be with these wines, because she has her Aloft and Dark Matter that she's doing with her family, and now with Charles Krug, taking bigger roles on that property and consulting winemaking and having projects with Charles Krug. So she, coming into a project like ours, had the distraction of the restaurant in the village to really not have the beginning pressure and really like learn what we're doing. We're not in distribution. We're not chasing scores. We are truly being moving forward by people like you that love the wine.
So real quick, just to bring clarity to the people listening to this story. So it sounds like the property kicked off, we'll call it open doors in 2015, 16, am I right?
16.
16.
February of 16.
But the first vintage of wine was from 13.
So the first vintage of wine from we've owned the vineyards before the property was built.
Correct.
And we were playing and making wine with our vintages. So 13 was a vintage where, as we were building Goose, building the same time, it's not open, we had access to our vineyards and many other vineyards that we were sourcing fruit from and trying fruit from vineyards that were for sale that we might have acquired if we liked the fruit and it worked out. The 13 vintage came from our Coombsville property that we already owned. And when we were tasting barrels during the 13 vintage with the no name, it wasn't Brasswood or anything. We were just making wine from the vineyard. That barrel, I remember like it was a combination. So one of the 13s is a combination of Krupp's Vineyard, all the best vineyards, Pritchard Hill, Coombsville. Like we just made a blend on this 13 wine. And I just remember tasting it in the at the barrel, and I was like, okay, this is the direction we're gonna go with. It was just, and what I at the point, and I look back, what I meant by that was like the quality of the wine, the amount we were gonna make, and so at 13 was just a shiner. There was no label on it. 14 came, our vineyards again. We have the Camp Franc we're building. 15 is when we haven't even named it Brasswood, right? 15 is when Angelina joined us because now we're ready to like actually say we need a winemaker.
Was that you that made that relationship happen?
Yes.
That was
Okay. So who, we don't need to like dive into deep, like who was the winemaker before Angelina, but I just want the question I'd rather ask is why did, I mean, obviously the Mondavi name is a pretty big name in this area, but what made you want to go after and ask her to come here?
Well, we were friends before on really social levels, and we were doing two different things. I'm starting building in Napa Valley, right? I'm building a restaurant. I've been in the industry my whole adult life since the early 90s. So I've sold wine and been around wine, branding wines, all that stuff. So I was comfortable in the wine world. I remember discussing at like the Model Bakery
Model
Coffee.
Bakery, yeah.
And she was like, I'm going to go on my own. I'm leaving my legacy from where she was at before.
Was that Charles Krug?
No,
No, I was with another cult winery here in Napa.
Okay.
Okay.
And this cult winery in Napa, she was leaving, and I knew building the most state-of-the-art winery in Napa Valley at the time. This was we were doing things that everybody is now doing, and I'm not saying like we're so great doing it. It was just right time, right place. That's what you had to build. We had everything was automated. We were working with glycol systems that, just very technologically advanced. And so my biggest thing is because Stacia, again, she graduated with top of her class. She rewrote some of the manuals in Fresno State for winemaking. She's just very sharp. And she makes...
Stacia's a badass.
She is.
She is.
Makes...
I've yet to meet Stacia, and I've been coming here for almost a decade. So, Stacia, if you're listening to this, I want to meet you.
Yeah. She... Yeah, she's retired now. So she had this technical way of making wine, and it's almost a way that wine of the world where if you didn't have these perfect grapes in Napa Valley, she can make wine from any grapes and make it really taste like it's a world-class vineyard.
That's wild.
And but in theory, when you have great grapes, you have that as a something in your pocket. Where I realized that when we were building this was going to be bigger than Stacia and I as a brand in legacy. Like if you think about, I think about like Charles Krug, like her grandfather, her great grandfather. Like now there's years going on, and it's like how do you prepare 100 years out? Wow. And so I have mentors that always had me think 100 years out on anything I do, and really when it was speaking with Angelina, I was like, she has this legacy of winemaking that she doesn't even know it's in her mind because it comes out as she talks about it from learning when she was 10 years old from her grandfather. She's like, oh, I learned that when I was 10 in a state-of-the-art winery where now it's even going to take less human error out of the, the oxidation of wine, the labor that is in the wrong work for these people that really want to make wine. So to have her style plus a state-of-the-art winery. It's just a win combination. Lastly, I really was like, I knew that she could make wine for 5 million cases and make wine for 50 cases. And to do that, not many people can do that.
Yeah.
You can't get a boutique
That's crazy.
winemaker to make a Charles Krug 2 million case Sauvignon Blanc or Rosé that the whole world's going to love, and also make 50 cases. They either one or the other. They either know how to make bulk, like huge volumes, or they know how to make boutique. And she had the opportunity to do both, and understands it, which is really hard because you have the opportunity behind the scenes to cut corners, and we don't.
So to end on that, and then I'll have you hit Angelina with some questions. We're drinking her 2018 Aloft. What does that wine mean to you as you're drinking it right now? It's a special wine, obviously. It's not, it's a very small batch wine. Those are the words from my mouth because I'm not in your
No, you're
guys'
not
league.
wrong.
But I'm just
Yeah.
saying, like, it's a very small produced wine. We were at the kitchen, Marcus, and I looked in the kitchen's very beautiful wine list, and I see an Aloft on there, and I get all excited. I'm like, oh, this is one of my favorite wines. So what does that wine mean to you?
What does the Aloft
Or,
wine mean to
or
me?
what does it taste like to you?
What does it taste like to me?
Or do you enjoy it?
Do I enjoy Aloft wine, as you're asking me?
Yeah, you do. That's a stupid question.
No, it's funny because the history of the Aloft is even like, and Angelina knows it way better, but I always love like how consumers know these brands, right? And Angelina was doing her World Harvest. The Aloft had a famous winemaker, Thomas Brown,
Yeah.
as the winemaker in the early years of Aloft, and you guys were able to acquire the brand back and become the official winemaker.
Yes.
About 7 years ago,
2006, 17, 16?
16, yeah.
Oh,
And
15.
was it 15?
Yeah.
And I remember when that was happening because Thomas Brown doesn't give up projects, and he
No.
also
He holds on to every one of them.
he also is very adamant about his name with wines, and it was a big honor for him to pass the baton, if you will, to Angelina to carry on that Aloft name and release it to them as proprietorships of the brand. So Aloft is a fun wine. I know where the fruit comes from, so that always helps. The property, her parents' property, and their property, because they do have to pay for their fruit. They don't get anything for free,
Yeah,
right?
no, we get 0 discounts. In case you want to know what it's like working for an Italian family, there are no discounts. There's no such word.
Oh man.
So
Yeah, everyone always
unless
thinks
you're on
that.
the buying end of it, they'll try to pilfer you down. But
Where do the grapes come from on the Aloft?
the Aloft actually comes from our Cold Springs vineyard. So we have a 60-acre parcel up on Howell Mountain that my family owns. And this is my dad's vision, and he found this piece of property, and we were fortunate enough to be able to actually turn it into this legacy that we're really just getting going.
Is there other labels that are grown from that other than Aloft?
Yeah, so Charles Krug actually has some fruit off of there. Ravana, which is literally like not even a quarter of the mile down the road, actually creates a single vineyard from there, and some other individuals actually buy off of that property
And at
as well.
Ravana, they're the exclusive person that actually can use the word Cold Springs on their label.
Crazy.
Yes.
So we're gonna get into this. I'm sorry for hogging it, Rene. You're gonna jump in, but like, there's for the people that are listening to this podcast, there's winemakers that will purchase grapes.
Yes.
Correct. From people like your family.
Yes.
And then, they'll basically go on to take those grapes maybe to a facility like Brasswood, right?
Yeah. Could
Use
be.
the equipment,
Yeah,
maybe?
could be a custom crush facility, could be their own facility. It could be anything where they are able to process all the fruit
I
and
think
actually
that's a
ferment
good
it.
point because with Brasswood, we're single vineyard, estate grown wines, and I feel like a lot of people, when they ask like how can you tell the difference between a $100 wine and a $20 wine or a $300 wine, and when it comes to knowledge of where these vineyards are and how the soil is right, the clone is right, the winemaker picking is right, the farming's right, that's what makes it, and the flavor. And so when when I think of Cold Springs, I know that I can't just get this anywhere, that vineyard. So it could be like anything, like the clothes you wear, the car you drive, the watches, whatever. Like you specifically have, where it is made. If it says it's made in Italy, then it's made in Italy. Or the wine is made on Cold Springs.
That's from
different.
that vineyard.
So a good example is like the gray label, which we have here on the table. I remember
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
one of the many times coming to Brasswood, opening up a gray label, and Marcus smells the wine, closes his eyes, and he's like, "I'm literally standing on the dirt." Is what you said.
That's crazy. When I see you
1000%.
do that, that is crazy, and I love to hear the background on that.
Well, it's like that whole wine tasting background when you learn how to drink wine. You look at the color, the aromas, the smell, the flavor. You're looking for, if you're technical, you're looking for flaws. If you're in the consumer, you're looking for all the aromas and floral aspects of it. And I literally, like when you were talking about the gray label, my mind went straight to the Clone 7 vineyard, where I know exactly where it is on the vineyard. And I walk in and I know exactly where the barrel is. And
Wow.
And then every time I taste it, that silky, whatever Angelina does in fermentation, or how she gets that, but that texture that she gives to it, where it doesn't overpower from the barrel, because it's a small batch. It's 25 cases, 50 cases barrel production, and it and every time I do open it for somebody, it is crazy how they understand, like. And I always, it's like the mozzarella, right? Like, I watch people eat the mozzarella wondering if they're going to be like, oh, that's overrated.
We just had it.
And
Oh,
by the
my
way,
goodness.
for the people that are listening, stop bringing me your fucking $30 bottles of wine, because I don't want that shit. Okay, I don't want that shit. Roy Yang is in the background flipping me off. I don't want your Costco wine, and this is the reason I don't want it. Angelina, you ruined my life.
Sorry.
I always say
not the
that.
first.
I always say, be careful what you ask for, because if you come out and you get a wine experience, you can't go backwards.
You can't.
It's so
crazy. And that's
it's
the
so
thing.
true.
I mean,
You try.
going to the kitchen with Marcus, and we're drinking so many good wines. He turned me on to a Chardonnay from Morlaix, and I looked at him. I'm like holding on for dear life. I'm like, this Chardonnay is amazing, and Marcus is just like, okay, like this is just another day in the playground. So all right, you got some questions for me?
Well,
Angelina.
here's the thing. I mean, I understand you can walk in and have a martini and pull your dimples out and get a whole restaurant over here. But what did he do to get you to decide
I've
to
never
say
asked
yes
this
to
question.
him? Oh yeah, I'm glad you poured right before
I
you
gotta
answered
pour.
it too.
This is a hefty one, actually. It was actually funny when Marcus actually presented the proposition to me. I was like, I said, well, let me taste the wines. And so we tasted the Cabernet Sauvignon, we tasted the Cab Franc. I instantly fell in love with the Cab Franc. Instantly. It won my heart over. And I was like, if you can make Cab Franc off of there like that, hands down, Cabernet Sauvignon can be made 1,000 times better. And that right there, I was like, I'm sold. And I wanted to be a part of the whole venture that we've embarked on, and it's been one wild ride, to say the least.
The wild ride is because of the fires, the 1720 pandemic, all of that, and we still had to launch a brand.
And I'm still alive.
and we're acting like it never happened, and because 2020 was the most almost amazing growing rate. We've had like the last 5 years like pretty solid growing. Like we have not made a bad vintage in so long.
So true.
And I remember before the fire started, I was sitting out in the hills. Nobody's around because it's just everyone's being safe. And
If you want to know a secret, find Marcus. If you can't find him, he's up on the hill staring on the valley floor, getting utter peace and able to like work through his mental
100-year
blockage and thinking about his 100-year plan. Guarantee he's up on the hill every time.
in the fire, I took you up there once,
Pretty
right?
jealous.
did.
I'm
Yeah.
pretty
This
jealous of
explains why you have to text Marcus 25 times to get one reply back. So carry on.
Yes, I know, but at least I could have a room full of people that probably have the same same like, and I don't. I think I answer people in a timely manner.
You
That's the
do. I'm
crazy-
just busting your
Okay.
chops.
So so we were talking about the whole Angelina,
Me coming on board.
but there was something to it.
It was me falling in love with Cab Franc.
Oh, and so with the Cab Franc, it is crazy because that has been our number one wine on release. We just did a pre-release of 2021, and it was Cab Franc Day the other day, and so it's just kind of fun to play, and you just do you just set things out, and then you get all these comments and people sending an email. It's like, wow, because we only make 200 cases of that or less.
Max 250
250, and
on a good year, and then on a not so good year where crop doesn't set well,
Oh,
we're
that's
looking
what it
at like
is.
180 cases. So it's not a whole heck of a lot when you actually look at the grand scheme of things. But the fact that we've got this wild crew of individuals that like follow us specifically and only for the Cabernet
It's
Franc,
phenomenal.
Franc
it's
Chardonnay.
mind blowing.
phenomenal.
Mind blowing.
How many times have we been in the cave and I'm like,
Where's the Cab
all
Franc?
right, so Angelina and Marcus, don't get mad at me. I love you guys. I love that I've been on your allocation for years. Is there a way we can put the Cab Franc? And yeah,
I
so
always say
to
no.
your point, the Cab Franc is special.
No, the only way it would change with the amounts is if we rip out some of the Cab and plant more Cab Franc.
that's not happening.
That's not happening
No.
because the
even though Cab
Cabernet-
Franc is more expensive. Okay, so
Yeah,
Cab
that's
Franc is
crazy.
more expensive to purchase by the ton
Than Cabernet Sauvignon
Cabernet
right now.
Sauvignon.
Really?
Cab-
It's wild.
And we only charge $95 for the Cab
yeah,
Franc.
you do.
Yeah, that's a steal. by
I
the
know.
way.
I'm like, and because I launched it like that, there's no way of changing it. But what I was saying about 2020 was that we were having the perfect vintage. Like
Yeah.
the weather was perfect, the
Everything
growing
was
region
on
perfect,
par.
and I remember going, "There's no way Napa Valley is going to have an epic decade vintage during a pandemic 2020, and then the fire hits." And I was like,
Oh
"Of
my
course."
goodness.
Because there's no way. Like, how could we preach like we're so
Yeah,
so great in Napa Valley?
man.
And then it went from talking about having the pandemic to we don't even care about the pandemic because we have 17 different families in one household having dinner together because we're all evacuated and still trying to salvage whatever harvest we can if there is one. Can we even get to the vineyard? Is everyone safe? What buildings are standing? What of my friends' homes are standing? Is my home even standing? That was quite the wild ride, actually.
Yeah.
In hindsight.
I know, and it was all because we were building Brasswood. That when you're an ag business, we're essential workers because we're producing, farming, and you can't stop. Like
We were there every day.
I remember I was trying to start the generator, and that was the first time. Angelina's badass. Like she can do a lot of things that I've never, in the wild.
You pushed my threshold that day.
That day, I remember she was looking around. She was like, "We have to," because we're the only ones on
We're
the
the
property.
only ones on the property. The fire's
coming.
coming down the
Wow.
hill. So I'm watching the smoke. It's getting darker.
We
It's
went
getting
through
denser.
barricades.
It's getting, yes, we did go through barricades.
We passed
Was
cops.
your house, by the way, it's like off record, but you live in St. Helena, right?
I do live in St.
Was
Helena.
your house in danger?
Yes and no.
Okay. But but this right here was
This
like
was
hold your
This-
breath.
This
Yeah.
was,
We had fire on the hill.
we had the fire on the hill, but the beautiful part is it was creeping slower than what quite frankly it should have been. But
And
we
we
had
had
done
roads.
some clearing and we had did
Yeah, we did
done
some weed
clearing
abatement.
and weed abatement. So the threat was there, but it was less of we just need the generator on because we've got fermentations going. We have to be able to still run
Yes.
everything if we can't get on site.
Yeah,
Now
because
the
we do not want to ruin a vintage.
because the crazy part, and at that time, because we were able to get through the barricade, we just drove around the winery property at Charles Krug and kind of went the back way and kind of drove through some private properties to get out past the barricade.
wild. That's
But that's the
crazy.
beauty of those of us that have lived and born and raised in this valley. We know all the back roads. We know
Yeah.
how to get through dang near everything.
Well, the joke is if you ever get caught on someone's property, you're like, don't the Mondavis own this? And they're like, no. It's like, no, I thought the Mondavis own this. You're just like, oh, sorry, I thought this was a Mondavi property.
We do own enough property, but yeah. So that was just crazy. But sitting on the phone and Marcus talking with the operator on how to start the generator.
I've never done that before.
Because the person that normally can't even get through the first barricade. So what we didn't realize is there were multiple barricades, and you're trying to get employees in, and it's like, well, they can't get through. Okay, we're meeting at Charles Krug because they moved the barricade up a little bit and they changed a few things. And okay, we're meeting. Okay, whoever can get into my truck, lay on the ground. I don't care. Whatever we can do to get you in, be able to do at least quick pump overs to get the fruit that's already in fermentation just to salve it. I mean, it was nuts.
Damn.
It was an experience I'd never want to experience again, quite honestly.
And I don't think we ever will.
And I've been through it in 2017. I've been through it in 2020. Yeah. I've been through it in Australian fires. I was like, I'm good.
Actually,
I'm
21,
retired.
22, and 23. We've had 3 years.
So pause there real quick. We got some guests here real quick. So we got Kendra, Sharon. What are you guys looking at real quick? Chocolate from Roy. So before we get back in there, we do have some wine. If you guys want any of it real quick, come here so we can pour you some. Let's just, if you don't mind, Rene. Can you just, I just want you to share what we're drinking real quick.
Okay. I mean, let's see here. The first one is that 2018 Aloft. Is that what we're sharing over here?
So that's Angelina's.
That's Angelina's one. Here, I'll get you another glass.
I want to try the gray label. What year is that?
What, you want the?
Actually, I don't know.
What year is
Now the gray label never is a 17.
17 gray label.
And then this is
So
from
good.
my own private because I'm a big Pinot guy. This is how we're gonna pronounce this? Reese.
Reese.
So this is a Reese
RHYS,
from
for those
Anderson
of you guys
Valley.
that
Oh,
don't
that's
know.
good.
I actually love this Pinot.
It's so good.
But I found it through a friend of mine, another Somm friend, and he always brings it whenever he comes over for dinner. He loves Reese. Ooh. Yeah, I
This
want one.
knows. I mean,
It's wild.
you can't.
So I
Every
found
single
out
time.
about that from a restaurant in SF called Catonia.
Oh, yeah.
You know Catonia?
God, I haven't eaten
Yummy.
there in forever.
So good. So there's the stage there.
I think I'm good.
You got some questions for Angelina.
Oh, I do.
So
I
good.
do. I have so much because
Oh, bring it.
I love it. So,
I'm not
doing a little
confident.
research, it sounds like, and I think it was out of a study out of Santa Clara. It's less than about 12% of the winemakers out in the Napa Valley are women. I'm
Correct.
assuming that.
Did you know that?
Did you
Yeah.
know that?
Less than 12.
Less
Less
than
than
12,
12.
and there's only 4% that are women-owned.
Women owned. Less
Wineries.
4% are women owned.
Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing.
Very small.
When,
And there was 2 on this property, Pam
Yeah.
Starr and you.
Oh, yeah.
I need you to elaborate on that. I mean, I'm just blown away when I hear that. I mean, we obviously know you. You're putting out just amazing stuff, and you got the lineage, and it's just, I just need to hear about
That's
it.
crazy.
Yeah, I think part of it has to do with, because I've got a lot of friends that have kids. They've kind of taken a step back from their winemaking roles. I'm hoping a couple of them will actually make a resurgence back once their kids are old enough, because they chose to kind of take a step back and do the mom role and really be present for their kids. You don't see that as much with the men in the industry as much. The women seem to be the one that kind of sacrifice that. I don't have kids, so I just have my fur babies. So there's nothing to kind of pull me aside and keep me at home. So I've kind of been, and I was raised in a household where we had to work. Nothing came easy, and a lot of people think I was fed with a silver spoon in my mouth and all that sort of stuff. But what people don't realize is I grew up. I was raised in the industry, so I had my first job where I actually put into a 401k at the age of 10 years old. Wow. We also had CPS show up because some of our employees didn't believe that children should be working at the winery.
Oh my goodness.
So we got inspected by CPS way back when, and it was like, no, we want to learn, but this is also what our family's all about. Back in the day, my grandfather or my dad and my uncle working with my grandfather and picking grapes and doing all that sort of stuff, that was common for the Italian heritage. So we didn't think anything of it until CPS was like, yeah, that's complete child labor. And my dad's
wild.
like, but I don't see it as that because they need
No.
to learn what taxes are. They need to learn that there's a 401k. They need to learn that not all the money that they get actually goes into their pocket, that they have taxes to pay. So at the age of 10, I learned very early on what taxes were. If I wanted to utilize my money, I had to create a presentation on what I wanted to use it for. Because if it wasn't beneficial, I didn't get approved
Wow.
by my grandfather or my dad or my mom
That's
or
incredible.
my grandmother.
That's incredible.
Some crazy legacy shit.
I love it.
Crazy. And, and for me, I grew up, sneaking out of the house at 12 years old and riding the harvester with my grandfather and getting to experience all that stuff when my parents were like asleep because we lived next door. So it was easy for me to sneak out of the house. My dad just found out recently they did that and wasn't really thrilled. And I was like, well, guess what? Your grandson's going to probably do the same thing because I'll probably kidnap him in the middle of the night and we'll go. Which is kind of funny because my grandson, he's already been here at Brasswood a couple times. He gets to taste the juice. I'll bring ferments
Not her
home.
grandson, her nephew.
Yeah, my nephew, not my grandson. My dad's grandson. And we're starting that legacy early on because I think it's huge. I think that's something that a lot of legacies don't actually understand. Like a lot of families don't really understand is I had the luxury of being able to taste Chenin Blanc with half water, half wine at an early age. So did my siblings, so did my cousins. So to be able to show my nephew what I love and what we're passionate about, and he's just as interested about it, it's kind of fun.
Incredible.
And he's a total boy.
Oh my God.
I gotta just ask a couple questions.
Please.
Yeah.
Sorry. So 3 things, real quick. The 2 are gonna be long parters, but right now my favorite white wine to drink is a Chenin Blanc. I don't know, like where has this been my whole life?
I don't even drink it enough.
Oh
It's
my
life-changing.
God. I feel like right now if I had to like put all my money into like what, and I feel like this changes, right? It changes with where you're at, I don't know. But right now, Chenin Blanc, you just said it, blowing my mind away. But let's go back to, I want to hear about just the Mondavi name, if you don't mind just talking about it for a second.
sure.
So, because I always kind of forget, like, was it her grandfather? Was it her great grandfather? So,
Yeah.
can you just kind of walk us through the Mondavi name for a
so,
second?
So I'll try to say this as quickly as possible.
Emma, which
I'm trying to think how far back to go. But my great grandparents, Cesare and Rosa, started in Sassoferrato, Italy. They were miners. Cesare moved to the U.S. With his brother to actually start a new life, to live the American dream here in the U.S. They didn't speak a lick of English, didn't know anything, didn't know how to do it other than they came by through Ellis Island. We actually have the documentation. My mom has spent endless hours trying to find our family legacy through that, as well as my mom's side of the family as well, because they're also Italian as well. And going through the process, what ended up happening was Cesare, my great-grandfather's brother, was killed in a mining accident in Virginia, Minnesota, which is where my family ended up residing. And my great-grandfather, Cesare, said, I don't want to die like my brother did. I need to change my career. Wow. Well, Virginia, Minnesota isn't very big, but it was a very big and heavy Italian population. And the local grocery store and saloon were actually going out of business. And he said, you know what? I'll buy the local grocery store. I'll take on the saloon. And at that time, he was actually shipping my great-grandmother over, Rosa, and they ended up getting married. They got married in Italy, but ended up kind of spending time apart. She ended up coming back over here to the U.S., and she ran the saloon and she ran the grocery store with my great-grandfather. Prohibition hit. Well, when you own a grocery store and you're selling a substantial amount of wine, you're selling a substantial amount of liquor, well, what happens? All of a sudden, you become either very, very religious, you become sick, and the sole purpose, or you have the sole purpose between those two, being religious or being sick, to actually produce 200 gallons of your own wine in your basement. Wow. So my great-grandmother said, okay, well, we're going to take the saloon because can't drink alcohol anymore. We're going to make wine in the basement. So they started sourcing grapes from California because they already had the ability to source all the vegetables from the West Coast, bring it over to the East Coast. And she started charging 5 cents for every glass of wine to sell under the table.
This was your grandma?
My great-grandmother, Rosa.
Great-grandma's the OG.
Oh, she's no joke. She is no joke. And by the way, she's 4'9". I want to say I think she was probably 250 pounds by the photos that I've seen. I actually really don't know. She was a pretty sizable lady, and but only 4'9". Wow. So she was a force to be reckoned with, and she had 4 kids. And when push came to shove, they were like,
And the
we
4
need to
kids
get
were?
Peter, which was my grandfather, the baby of the family. And then there were 2 girls in between, Helen and Mary. And then the oldest was Robert.
Out of those 4, who was the one that kind of made their name out here?
Robert.
Robert.
Yeah.
Silly
So
question.
Robert was the Robert was the marketer, and my
like Marcus
grandfather
Sosa.
was the winemaker. And back then, women
Helen-
didn't have
Helen Mondavi.
women born into the industry. Yeah, but this is the crazy
Shut
part.
up, Marcus. Okay. God.
Women back then weren't given the rights to own lands.
Yeah.
So it was only to the boys. Well, fast forward to my generation. My grandfather only had 1 grandson, and he's the second to the last of the grandchildren, and the rest of us are all granddaughters. So that Italian tradition of it only goes to the men kind of died with our generation. I think it would have been a different story if I had been born a boy, or if I had a brother in front of me. It would have been a completely different dynamic. Now we're celebrating. My family is celebrating. We're the majority woman-owned at Charles Krug Winery, or Mondavi and family. We're majority woman-owned. My dad and my uncle own less than 5% of the company. So we're in this massive transitionary period right now, and it's really exciting times, actually.
That's
because
incredible.
when you think about it, the only Mondavis that really get the recognition right now are all the men. No women are actually getting that recognition. So I'm the first of the next generation of the family to be a winemaker, to also get multiple 100-point scores under my own accord.
Let's go.
Working for, a cult winery, and there's no stopping now. So we're just getting started in our family.
So
Absolute
Rob-
force to be reckoned with.
Robert.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
That is seriously,
So
man.
just a small recap. Marcus, don't make fun of me.
Yeah.
Robert, is your dad's brother?
My grandfather's
Sorry.
older brother.
Grandfather's older brother. Okay. So obviously he's passed.
Yeah, both have
Okay.
passed. All 4 of them have actually
But
passed.
your father is, what's his name?
My dad's Mark,
Mark.
and my uncle's Pete Jr.
Got it. And they're obviously still alive.
They're still alive. My dad actually resigned off the board because he walked in less than a month ago and said, I think you're ready to take on the next step. So I've been sitting on the board for my family, but my sister Rihanna has also taken the helm. So she's replacing my dad's position because it's mandatory that we have 4 family members actually sitting on the board, 2 from either side of the family. So my uncle's side and my dad's side. And it's quite the times. And we've got a lot of fun things.
Amazing.
happening.
I heard there's no stopping now. That's
Yeah.
what I heard here. I want to hear what's going through your brain of what's in the future. Where does
my
that
God.
go? I want
Oh
to
my
hear
God,
that.
there's so much. I'm working on 3 patents right now. I just submitted my 3rd one this morning. 4th one this morning.
This morning.
Talking about non-alcoholic wines.
Wow.
I'm a chemistry major, so by trade, my mind works a little differently than most. I have a chemistry background with a business minor, so I'm always thinking about what's next. But I'm also thinking, my mind's always thinking, I can't always be reliant on my family. But look at my family right now. I feel like money comes in and it's gone because of taxes, and that's about the only time I see the money. We don't get dividends. We basically reinvest. It's why our legacy is now in the 5th generation.
Yep.
It's not easy. Sometimes it's a little daunting, and sometimes it's a little overpowering because you're investing all your time and your energy into that. So because I'm now over 40, I've kind of reevaluated things, and I've kind of taken a step in my own of where I'm working with companies that I'm really excited. Marcus and I actually sit on a company together, and we're about ready to launch Aventera, which is a wine that is it's next world on another level. And it's fruit wine mixed with grape wine, mixed with vegetable wine. So you're creating umami and kokumai characteristics. Yeah, it's a whole nother scientific aspect. So I'm working on that. And then my other patent is for non-alcoholic wine, taking it from a tablet form, and all you do is you add water.
I'm so glad you asked this question.
Oh my goodness.
When he asked the question, I was like, what a stupid question to ask. What's on the horizon? And holy shit.
Shut up,
I'm
Chris.
sorry.
Yeah. And and I'm really I'm also working on a new project. I can't say yet. However, it has to do with solving some of Napa Valley's biggest issues, which is, what do we do with all the waste? One of the biggest wastes that we have is pumice, which is the leftover skins and grapes, or skins from the grapes and seeds and stalks that we have, and turning that into a byproduct that can create hydrogen, which in turn can fuel hydrogen cells, which in turn could fuel the entire winery. So I'm actually working on that right now with this gentleman will win the Nobel Peace Prize. He's 78 years old. He sat down, he showed me this product, and I said, I want in. I need to know, but we're also solving a few other issues as well that are huge isolated issues here in Napa Valley specifically. But it's not just, it goes with every wine region, to be honest. So I'm working right now. I'm going to be presenting it to my family saying, we're doing a trial run. I don't care. This is happening, because this will be the next revolutionary thing that actually happens within the wine industry. It will change the wine industry as a whole. So I've got a few things up my sleeve that are very separate from what my family's doing. It's all about, what creates happiness and what creates purpose in your life. For me, I love winemaking. I will always love winemaking. It's always going to be my passion. It's what I live for every day. I live for harvest every year. It's probably the most calm I actually am, is during harvest, shockingly, as chaotic as it is. But I only really hit one side of my brain, and that is my artistic side. It's less of the science when it comes to winemaking until you get into the blending and that sort of stuff. So this other stuff really hits my other side of the brain, which is my scientific brain, which is what I geek out over, what I love, and what I'm so passionate for. So it's like, how do you get the option? And I'm in a world where I get the option. I get to play in a world that no one's ever dabbled in, being one of the first to come out with these wines that are really truly revolutionary on another level and next world. And then to be able to talk about the future of what could potentially change the entire wine industry. Like I said, there's no stopping me. Now I'm in it for myself. I'm in it for creating the next legacy of the Mondavi family. And our family's we've been innovative for the last 107 years. This is taking it to that next level.
So let me get this straight. You get to use the other side of your brain and follow your passion, and you're changing the way that everything gets done out in this area. How selfish of you. Oh my goodness. Absolutely amazing. I mean,
hey, so
stand up clap here. Good Lord.
The thing that I'm thinking about right now is that, well, first and foremost, we're sitting with two they're like geniuses over here. but the thing about Marcus and Angelina, we were talking about this on the way here, the most humble people you'll ever meet in your life.
Agreed.
I mean, when we come here, I'm like, do you guys mind if I... And they're just like, just go. Talk like you have a job here. I'm like low-key texting Marcus, like, is it okay if I get a part-time job at Brasswood? I just want give me a couple days a week. But
he's a good seller of your wine, though. Come on, you've heard his speeches every time talking about your production.
No
doubt,
he's
pretty good at it.
It's kudos to you guys, though, that the atmosphere that you guys have created here is family. And I just want to stay there for a second.
For sure.
There's been a lot of wineries that I've visited in Napa Valley, and I'm not ashamed to say this, where it feels a little stuffy. And we come here and it's like, we get to eat good food. We get to walk the property. Every time I'm like, is it okay if I'd take my friends. And you're like, why are you asking me? Just go. And so we want to thank you guys.
I want to go to those places because I thrive when it's stuffy. It feels so fun to be in stuffy places.
It's literally.
People are so fun to watch and how they react. So I love stuffy places.
But is it not mind-boggling that we still have that in Napa Valley after all these years? And
Yes.
it is mind-boggling.
It's a staple,
but there's
though.
but there's
the
a place
norm
for it.
at other places.
Yeah,
It's the norm.
I know it is. I got to experience it.
Well, you live in a different world because you live here, but let me tell you about our world.
I know, that's why I wanna
Take
go.
you back, and I'm not going to forget that weird awkwardness when I said you're from Sacramento. We will go back there.
I have birth certificates that say otherwise. Dang it.
Are you from LA?
Are you from LA?
So let me just tell you what it's like for the normal person. The normal person goes, hey, so we're going wine tasting in Napa Valley. That was a girl, by the way.
Yeah,
hey, so we're going.
So
We're going wine tasting in Napa Valley, and where do you recommend that we go? That's usually what we get, right?
They ask you.
Yeah. So
Okay.
that, or Rene. I mean, but
No.
my answer is, well, what do you want? You know what I mean?
Great question.
What do you want? Because if you want like the red carpet, if you want like 7 to 8 different things in one, I'm going to recommend that you go to Brasswood. You know what I mean? If you want to walk this incredible, beautiful space and see $300 million worth of artwork and drink one of my favorite Pinots in the world, go to Donham. You know what I mean? But that's just something that I feel like we get asked that I want to say is...
You know, it's kind of fun. Like now that it just popped in my head. One of these times you're going to be like, go and experience something and then tell me what you like. Because it'd be interesting to hear if they didn't go to Donham, they didn't come to Brasswood, they had to do it on their own. And the 3 wineries that they choose.
Damn, that's good.
That would be fun to hear
No,
what
we
they...
we
That is
see
actually
it all
good.
the time because people
Yeah.
come down here and they just go. Now, like my go-to now is when we come down with people, we go to where their members at, and
Yes.
we'll go there, and it has all the history, and we have a decent time, and then we end here, and it crushes it. That's literally my go-to now. Just world-renowned wines from other places and everything, but we end up here, and people are just blown away. So that's literally what I try to do with the people that I come down with, because nobody has everything like you have it here.
No,
in
and
my
you know,
opinion.
No, it
and
is unique.
Honestly, like very blessed. I have tremendous mentors out there. Again, like I've started in the industry in the '90s, and that's '97. The best vintage wasn't even invented then when I was in the wine world. So to live through the '97 epic vintage, '98, 2000s, like kept on growing. That I always in the back of my mind think of the Silver Oaks, how they started. Think of Charles Krug, like all these wineries that produced wine to share with somebody. Like
Yep.
you hear that thing all the time. Wine is there to be shared, right? And so
Absolutely.
when it's fun to drink wine with people that love wine, because it's almost like they never get to do that.
Yeah.
Right? They get judged if they're doing it in their home or at a restaurant that, they're drinking a second bottle and everyone's like, wow, they really went through 2 bottles of wine. And it's like, that's not a big deal.
Yeah.
But to people, it could be. And so when people show up to Napa Valley, this is where you're supposed to let them enjoy wine to the fullest, and there's no judgment. And I always want people to feel that, to experience it first, and then we could come back and talk about it.
Agreed.
Once you go, wow, what was that cab from? Angelina made that, and then really get into it after they ingest it for so long that they're just like, I really like this wine,
Yeah.
and it's kind of fun that way.
Well, and I think too, I grew up in a world where wine wasn't supposed to be pretentious. It like when you listen to Robert or you listen to my grandfather Peter Sr. talk, there was never pretentiousness about the wine. It was supposed to be meant to be enjoyed by everyone and experience the love and the camaraderie that you have with one another, whether you're in the kitchen or whether or not you're celebrating a birthday or whatever the event might happen to be. But I grew up in that world, so the pretentiousness, I didn't know it as
Yeah.
a kid. I didn't grow up or I didn't live it that way.
And honestly, knowing Angelina for a while now, she, even coming out on her own, she didn't live it that way either. Like, she had her head down. She was in, books. She was making wine. She made cult wine. She drank. She was going for some. Like, she drank the best wine of the world, but it wasn't pretentious.
No.
It was just, and I think quality, when you're passionate and you can be around quality, and it sometimes gets thought of as being stuffy, because I will only drink the best wine in the room. I will not drink, and that's how I know I'm not an alcoholic.
I've been around you. I've seen it.
I will fake it and just hold the glass, and I won't.
That's that Austin Hope. The Austin Hope from.
Yeah, I can't fake drinking and anything, spirits, beer, and wine.
it.
Like if it's not,
Life's too short.
it's
I
just
love it.
Yeah, it's just I don't need it, and
Reese.
and that's when people will call me snobby. So recently, just like 3 weeks ago, I was in Newark, and I had to go speak at Wharton MBA
MBA entrepreneurship.
entrepreneurship.
Nice.
And alumni from Yale, from Columbia, Princeton, Harvard, all these people in the audience, and here I am speaking on, and their introduction to me was like the snob of Napa Valley.
That's what they introduced
That's
you
what they
as?
did, and I was like, "Are you kidding me?" And I was coming back from Nashville, so I didn't have a change of clothes. I didn't know what I was. I didn't even heard of Wharton MBA, School of University of Pennsylvania.
Shows up and finds out and just.
I
love
show
it.
up.
That's so you, Mark.
I
That's
show
why
up.
he went and not me.
Yeah, I show up and I bought a new pair of shoes. That's about how far I got into getting a new outfit because I was coming straight from Nashville after a 21 birthday party experience. Get there and I'm like, holy cow! Everyone's in their suits and their polyester, like they're grad students, right, in the city of New Jersey, and everyone gravitated. They're like, "Where are you from?"
That's
because I was so casual.
Yeah.
But they thought it was like the most crazy thing that
I should have warned you. East Coast is a little bit more
yeah.
professional.
And
than
I was
we are
wearing a
in-
nice sweater.
The West Coast?
I
was
love it.
wearing
Marcus,
jeans.
you're always dressed nice.
And but it
He
was
actually is.
He is.
Oh, great
I
question.
didn't even
Good
get
question.
pizza.
No pizza? She
I was
asked
there
if
for
you fold your
48
pizza or
hours.
Yeah,
eat
he
it
wasn't
flat.
there for very
I love
long.
it.
But I did find. I couldn't. I text people. I was like, I'm in this town. No one even heard of the town. I did find the most expensive Italian restaurant. I didn't even mean
I
to.
knew it. That's
I
right.
found the most incredible Italian restaurant in Fairfield, New Jersey, right outside of Newark. And I walked in, and I'm bringing these people I don't even know that are entrepreneur, like very scrappy, like they don't like to spend dollar on food and wine ever, right? And so
Yeah.
I'm like, we're going to dinner here because we were at this thing, and it's all Costco open, like sandwiches and things
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I'm going to dinner. Just because I was like, if I'm here, I'm going to eat. Find this restaurant. I get in the Ubers with all these people. I have no idea how far it is. I just was like, we're going here. It's like 30 minutes. So I'm like, oh shoot. We're like, and then I get there. No one's dressed at this point because it was the night before the big event. And so everyone's in casual clothing, and the door says dress code mandatory. And I'm like, California. I'm like, what does that mean? Like, just no hat, like sleeves, like
Yeah.
I was like, perfect. I didn't see no jeans. I opened up the door, and you would have thought I walked into the Italian Taj Mahal, like the Sixth Chapel painted on the ceiling. All the guys were in tuxedos, women were in pearls, hair
I think
up.
I know what place you're talking about.
And I just walked in because I made reservations online,
Yeah.
and I was just like, just act like this is how I dress. They put us in a table in the corner, and we were passing everybody. It was the most intense, most awesome restaurant, but
I know what
I've
place.
never felt more California than that because I mean, I would go to the French Laundry in what I was wearing,
Yeah.
but there was not dressed up enough.
Next level.
Isn't it? It's funny how the cultural
yeah,
cultural
super funny.
shifts are.
Questions before we
Yes,
sir.
move on to the next part.
Let's go.
So, in my notes section, I want to know right now. This is gonna be a tough one. We'll start with Angelina. Go to Marcus. 3 to 5 wines that you're drinking right now, outside of your own collection, outside of own Brasswood, that you would be like, "Damn, this is the world needs to hear about this."
I don't think he says, damn, the world needs to hear about this. That's my guess with him. So,
Yeah.
All right, we 5.
3 to 5.
I know.
Okay,
3 to
3 to
5.
5.
2 to 4.
2 to 4.
2 to 4.
3 to 5.
2 to 4. One, I was actually telling you guys earlier about it. You guys, and it was Mondavi Vineyards, their Cabernet Sauvignon.
How do you spell
No way.
Love.
Shut up.
Look,
Love. I'm
he's
obsessed.
finally, hey, Marcus
I
is
love
finally
this.
excited though. This is great.
I'm obsessed with their cab.
How do you say it?
Mirasole.
Mondavi.
How do you spell that?
MER.
Morisoli.
Got it.
They just
Oh,
ranked.
Where are they at?
Mirasole.
Where are they at?
Yeah, Mondavi.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were thinking of the Mirasole. The
No.
You know,
Oh.
No.
Wow. See, there was
No.
a mix up there. There was a mix up there.
I was like,
Stop pouring him wine.
No,
Yeah,
give
I
us some
thought-
more. Let's go.
Morisoli.
Mirasole is great. Chris, the
Cirque
family.
du
Chris.
Soleil? Is that what he's
I
thinking?
adore Chris.
He is so. He's
Where's that out of?
Oakville.
Oakville.
Okay.
Rutherford, actually.
And
Got
they're
it.
a 4th generation family or a 5th generation.
generation, I think.
Wow. Okay. Love it.
Unbelievable. They grew up as grape growers, and just decided recently to dabble in the wine
I gotta
world.
try
They
it.
just got ranked in the top 100 for Wine Spectator.
Are you saying cab? Is that what?
Cab.
Okay.
100% cab.
man.
It
Chris
is-
Mirasole, if you're listening to this, bring us a bottle of wine.
Thank you.
Oh man.
I've got a 3-pack somewhere at the winery. I just don't know where.
I did
and
his
gotta find it.
podcast. He has
I
a
have yet
podcast.
to do the podcast.
I did that one. It's called. Can we plug another podcast?
Yes,
Yeah,
of
do
course.
I don't even know what it's called. 911 Wine. So it's 911.
911
But it's
wine.
I love
911
that name.
911
Great.
wine.
And we sit and we read the police blog and we talk about.
What happens local? What happens
St. Helena.
locally in St. Helena? Because let me tell you, the police blog's very entertaining for all you guys that
That's
don't know
hilarious.
how country St. Helena
Yeah.
can be. We're country.
It's pretty. It's like.
All right, give me at least 2 more.
Let's see. Another one that I absolutely love right now is.
Let's see if she says any of them.
By the
to
way, I'm
say.
gonna be selfish for a second. I don't give a shit. But
Okay, go ahead.
do you drink Pinots? Like
Yeah,
I used to
do.
be a Pinophile back when I was a young wine drinker.
I want to hear.
Pinophile.
I drink a lot of
it.
Pinots.
Give me at least 1 Pinot so I can add it to my collection.
I'm a Literai fan, through and through.
Wow, never heard Literai.
All right.
Don't
That's
we
why
have it
you
on-
asked.
Don't we
I
have it
love
on,
it.
Don't we have it on the list
We
here?
drink we've drank Literai together.
He
Sorry.
doesn't remember every time he hangs out with you,
Yeah.
so that's fine.
Well, that's
Kendra,
yeah.
have you heard of this? No. Are you taking notes or are you just? She's doing work. She's been doing work back
I like
there.
Literai.
Yeah, Literai.
Literai.
Chris Saison has had Literai.
Yeah, Literai is a good one. I actually enjoy. I
Ted Lemon's
truly,
a great winemaker.
yeah, and I actually really enjoy Westwood's Pinots. They're higher. They're
Never heard of
they're
Westwood.
higher
Heard
tier.
of Wildwood? Never.
We
never
make
Westwood.
we actually make Westwood's made here under the Melka team.
Under the Malka team.
It's good.
Perfect.
Good.
Yeah.
All right. She didn't steal any of yours, right?
No.
Let's see. I'm trying to go through the varietals.
We got a cab and 2 Pinots there.
Yeah,
Yep.
but I want to add a white, and I'm just trying to.
Oh, give me a
think,
Chenin Blanc if you don't mind.
Well,
No,
the
I know
Chenin
he-
Blanc, I'm going to do a selfish plug. My Aloft Chenin Blanc is one of the
Oh,
best
yeah.
out
I
of the
didn't even know
market.
you had an Aloft Chenin
Shut
Blanc.
up. That's what I thought you were
What?
talking
That's
about.
what I thought you were talking about too.
Chris
Oh my
Saison.
goodness.
Okay,
I
we're
thought
gonna
you
have
were
to get
talking
you
about
a-
that's the best Chenin Blanc you've ever had.
Disclaimer. I'm an Aloft allocation member. Let's just start there. But I
And-
didn't know that she made a Chenin Blanc.
Yeah, I
Then you're
make.
not reading your emails.
No.
You need to be nice, Marcus. Trying to take you to dinner tonight.
I make 100% Chenin Blanc coming from the original vines that were planted for my grandfather. So they're over 80 years old.
The packaging is amazing.
My sister Alicia is, for those guys that don't know, and you need label designers.
Curly hair?
No,
that's
non-curly. That's
Gigi.
Gigi. That's the baby.
Okay.
Alicia is a force to be reckoned with when it comes to marketing concepts. And Alicia has taken the Chenin Blanc label to like a whole nother meaning, really. And it's just beautiful. It's got gold accenting on it. And yeah, it's beautiful. It's crisp. It's probably the purest form of Chenin Blanc that I've ever come across here in California. However, when we started producing it, when my family, my grandfather started producing Chenin Blanc, at one point we were making 280,000 cases of it for Charles Krug Winery.
Oh, wow.
When we gravitated towards it, because my sister's like, I want a white, and I said, well, I don't want to do a Chardonnay. I don't want to do a Sauvignon Blanc because everyone does it, and we need to think outside the box. And I said out loud, I want to do a Chenin Blanc. What I didn't realize is that I said it in front of two of my good close friends, and it went through the rumorville that I was looking for Chenin Blanc because there's only 7 acres of Chenin Blanc planted in 2019. I'm really, really freaking stoked to actually say that we've budded and we took budwood from those 80-plus-year-old vines because we actually have no idea. We know we know they're over 80. They're between 80 to 95 years old.
Wow.
That's all we know.
That's
They're-
insane.
That is insane.
So for those of you guys that don't realize, tracking older vines is actually a lot more complicated than it is because it's not with the registry in Napa County. And I can have arguments with Psalms here in the valley all day long saying it's impossible. There's no Chenin Blanc that is that old. No, I'm here to put my foot down and say, no, there is Chenin Blanc that's been here this long, and we just grafted over because we had UC Davis actually look at it, confirm it, also go through, make sure it's squeaky clean, and we budded over another 3 acres. So we're actually expanding that, which I'm really excited about for my family.
Amazing.
But I want to say we've been like the new trendsetters for
Chenin
for
Blanc
it.
is popping up everywhere.
Everywhere,
Nice.
Everyone's planting it now, and I'm like, damn it!
You started
because-
it, your fault.
So side note,
Yeah.
we gotta find a bottle of this Aloft.
Oh, yeah.
Chenin Blanc.
know where to
Marcus,
find it.
Give
There
us
might
your-
be
give
one
us your-
in
give
the-
us give us
There
your
is-
3 wines that you're sipping on right now that you would like to announce about.
The 3 wines that I am currently sipping on are Checkerboard.
Ooh, good one.
Checkerboard. I've heard of
I
Checkerboard.
Good.
love.
Ooh.
I just went to the property the other day.
Is that a cab? What is it?
Cabernet Sauvignon.
Cab, but they have a killer Sauv
Single-
Blanc and they have a
single-
killer Rosé too.
single vineyard.
Where are they
Cabernet,
based out of?
Right here in Diamond Mountain,
Diamond Mountain.
Love it.
Diamond Mountain.
down the street,
So is that St.
North.
Helena?
Calistoga.
Calistoga.
Calistoga. Got it.
So good.
But just an incredible property, incredible vineyard.
Wait, which
A great winemaker,
Martha McClellan?
Martha McClellan. Kings Row is their entry. Well, they probably wouldn't want to say entry, but Kings Row is their more approachable. You see it on wine lists. But they have
They're single vineyards.
their single vineyards,
my God.
all from the estate. So it's estate wine. Just delicious. I mean, every time I see it on a wine list, I know I will buy it because it delivers. And they don't sell it to a lot of places. So if you find it at someone's restaurant, then you know that it goes well with the food and that they know what they're drinking.
Yeah, most likely you actually went through the owner's private cellar and then they put it on the list.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
Again,
the
blessing and curse being friends with these guys. Huh?
Yeah.
The second one, honestly, it sounds trendy, but the Scarecrow Cabernet is really drinking really well too. The 19,
19's off the
it's
Richter.
just you can't keep your hands
Scarecrow.
on
Have you
it.
heard of this?
Heard of it. I haven't
So
had it.
scared.
Also by a female winemaker.
Also by Cecilia.
You guys are
so it's
pointing
funny
out
that
the
Cecilia
when you
female
Wells.
brought that-
winemakers. I'm loving this.
So when you brought up that 14%, so when I started in the
12.
industry, or 12%,
Yeah.
all the wines that I always represent, from Bryant family to Marqueson, all these cult wines. That,
Marqueson. That's one of my faves.
And that was made by women, Helen Turley. So when I was selling wine, I had Helen Turley, Heidi Barrett, Karen Kohler. We had Cecilia Majeski for her Cornerstone. We had Mia Klein with.
You're really throwing
You
that.
can tell this dude. He's naming off
Love this.
winemakers like NBA players right now. He's like Jason
No,
Tatum,
he's throwing. He's going back.
Steph Curry.
Yeah, and they were
Man,
all
seriously.
female winemakers. So I always thought it was a female winemaking group because there was Thomas Brown was a winemaker
Not then.
at that level at the end, but it was more Philippe Melka, Gary Galleron, and things like that. But
Yeah.
it was more. I thought it was all female winemakers
Man.
because we were, taught
Yeah, now-
that the olfactory of women.
Yeah.
And they can smell flaws faster than guys do, and all that.
Yeah,
kind of
now
stuff.
I feel like I play in a man's world.
Yeah, you do. Well, because
Well,
you hang out with a lot of guys too.
Oh, I do. Actually.
Oh man, did you
Actually,
get your third?
no.
It was that. Was,
Okay, so Checkerboard, Scarecrow, and then my third that I just got introduced to is the Bard, and the Bard. I can drink
BARD.
the BARD.
Where's
That is
where's
such
that out
a
of?
hidden gem.
It's here in Napa Valley.
No
it's
way.
it's a product by Realm.
Who spends more time finding out about wines to drink, Marcus or Angelina?
Marcus.
For
Angelina.
sure,
Oh, what?
Marcus.
I thought you would be, but
I mean, it's
I
in your
get-
backyard. It's kind of not hard not to.
so we're gonna have to do. We will seriously. I just finished my backyard outdoor kitchen,
And it's
so-
for sale. So if anyone wants to
It
buy
is
a
not
house
for
up in the
sale.
hill,
Your house is for
yes,
sale?
it is. So
it's
anybody
not.
on this podcast, you
Is
can
it
buy
for-
Angelina
is it-
Mondavi's house. Designed
For sale by
designed
owner?
by Angelina.
We're gonna take a
Designed,
quick. We're gonna
kitchen
we're gonna-
designed by Angelina.
Let's take a quick
House for sale.
break.
Okay.
Quick break. So we're
Bring
gonna
her down
quick
to the
bathroom
valley.
break. Come back here. We got 20 minutes left as
Okay.
we come back here to pour some wine. But let's take a quick break. So we're back. That was a bathroom break, and we're gonna get right into it because we got to respect Marcus and Angelina's time because we know they have stuff to get back to. So we just popped open a bottle of the Cab Franc that is
The phenomenal cat.
apparently it's not even open to release yet. Is that?
No,
No.
that one that we're
Well,
tasting
that's
is
an older one.
That's an older vintage.
So the 2018 we get to try, which I haven't tried in a long time.
I
so
haven't
this is
either, so
awesome.
I'm excited to taste it.
And the
I haven't tried
2019 we are getting ready to release in February, but we did because it's drinking so well now. We're actually, if you come to the property, we're showing it to people that reserve a reservation. But we also did a pre-release for our allocation members.
Got it.
To get on because we always want to make sure that they have the chance to not get behind and it's sold out when they want it. So
So Chris, that's for
me.
you.
that is you.
And by the way, I wanted to say,
me.
like, Renee and I have been
And you,
allocation
Renee,
members
too.
And
for
me.
so many years, and it's been a blessing because I have people in this room right now. Like, one of my favorite people, Clay, is in this room, who owns Cannon, which is one of the best restaurants in Sacramento. Shout out to Clannon.
It's one of them
and
that he owns.
it's just like,
And shout out to the New York Times saying Sacramento's restaurant scene.
Man, who
That was
paid for
really
that?
cool.
that too.
I love
And
it.
so we love getting.
I
like,
love it.
I would say, like, our favorite thing is not just drinking Brasswood wine, but introducing it to our friends, our
100%.
family. But I wanted to specifically do a quick turn. So that was a pivot. I wasn't asked Marcus something on a pivot. So
Oh, about Sacramento?
Blue Note Jazz Festival. So let's
Yes.
talk about that for a second because it was fun,
Yes.
right?
It
So
was amazing.
It was amazing. It was one of the best concerts I've been to. It was a weekend festival,
One-
hip hop, jazz. Apparently there were some Dave Chappelle stories, but talk about real quick, Angelina, because they had that at your parents' property. So what was that
yeah,
like?
we had it at Charles
Stay
Krug.
positive.
I'm so mad I missed it. Oh my god.
You weren't there.
I
You weren't-
wasn't there.
So
Yeah,
just a
you-
little
what you
recap.
It was
my
the
daughter's
most,
softball tournament. I was coming back. I missed it, and I'm so.
It
mad I
was
missed
No, the
such-
Snoop Dogg Chappelle
Shaka Khan.
collaboration up on stage, and they were playing like it was their garage band.
Oh,
It was incredible.
They were.
They
hitting
were
every
they were on
note.
another level.
The rap, the music. I mean, it was, and we were just
The vibe.
spectators.
Insane. Now, one
of
thing
their
that
life.
the listeners that are not understanding that literally is going to bring a tear to my eye, but this beautiful woman, Angelina. So, Kendra and I, who's here right now listening to this, Kendra and I are coming to the after party, which is at Brasswood, right? So we're like, we got tickets. We spent a shit ton of money on these after party tickets, and we're like, it's at Brasswood. Of course we're coming. Right, so we're coming to the after party. We got DJ Jazzy Jeff, which is a renowned DJ.
Yes.
Which was supposed to be Erica Badu. That's why
Yes.
Well,
Erica.
I'm good with
Man.
DJ Jazzy
Yeah,
Jeff.
still-
Jazzy Jeff performed. But
Still, we got-
Erica got
we got-
COVID,
I said
right?
yes to the after party, not because of Dave Chappelle, but to see Erica Badu.
Wait, they got to
Oh,
sign off with
man.
you? Oh my God, this is
No, I
incredible.
mean,
I like it,
I mean,
Marcus.
I'm
I
not
like it,
gonna lie,
Marcus.
Erica
we got
Badu.
Jazzy Jeff, we got Talib Kweli, we got Dave Chappelle, but we run into Angelina when we get here, and she's like, "Yeah, I just picked up this guy named Madlib off the side of," and I'm like, my
True
jaw
story.
hits the ground. I'm like, he's one of the most famous hip hop producers in all of music, and she's like, "Yeah," and I came here, and they didn't even like know who I was. I'm like,
Yeah,
Angela,
you had
you
trouble-
make the
you-
wine here.
You had trouble getting in? That's what I heard?
well, they were pretty strict.
They
They're-
were staunch
They-
on their who could
They
get
even
in.
tried to
Didn't
block
have your
me.
wristband on?
Even
I
with
didn't
the
have
rest.
the wristband, but part of the problem was half of us didn't have our cell phones because half of us got our cell phones confiscated.
Yeah.
So I couldn't text to be like,
Oh.
I need my wristband. So how did we do it?
Is that not why?
How did we do it?
Yeah, how?
I asked the guy because they had a food truck here, and I said, let me help you with the delivery, because he was one of the.
Oh my God.
You
He
had
was
to
one of-
sneak into this place.
No joke. He was one of the security guards for the group, and he recognized me because he knew me at obviously at Charles Krug, and he said,
Yeah, they use the
he
same
goes, come
security.
and help me, and I'll get you we'll
Into
we'll
your
work."
home.
That's how I got in.
Pretty much, yes.
Oh
That is so great. That is so
No, it
great.
was-
By the way, in case you want to know, I figured out how to break into every freaking facility when it comes to security guards
I want to
now.
know about all this shit.
And how to get around it, because let me tell you, it doesn't matter what you have on your neck, because I had 7 different lanyards
Yeah.
around my neck. It still didn't get me in here. And I was like, dude, I literally just chauffeured Mad Lib.
Yeah. Oh my.
You know, we should.
Which, who, by the way, is the most cool, down-to-earth individual.
Mad Lib,
And
if you're hearing
we
this
were laughing because he didn't know who I was. I didn't know who he was.
I still don't know who he is.
Angelina, real
Oh.
quick, can we stop real quick? Do you
Yeah.
understand how absolutely famous Mad Lib is? He's
Who
one of
does
the-
he
Now I
produce?
know.
Does Mad Lib
Who
know
does he
how
know?
absolutely famous Angelina is?
No, he's on another level than I am. I don't even come close. But he's the most
Wait, Mad
down-to-earth
Lib.
Yeah, so
individual.
just like for some starters, Most Def to Lib Kweli. He just produced, I'm drawing a blank right now, but he's produced many very famous hip hop artists.
like.
Why are you looking at me like that, Marcus? You wanna
Because you
make fun
can't
of me, don't you?
remember. Okay, I thought you were gonna say like. Go ahead.
Well, I can research it.
Well, you're from the 60s, so I don't know if
I
the
know.
hip hop artists will.
There were not. It was Elvis that rapped.
She's looking it up on her phone.
I'm looking it up.
So while she does that, I want to just transition back to Marcus. So one of the things we want to ask you, you said from the 90s, but what I want to know is at what point in your life did you know that you wanted to go down to the hospitality business? So like in regards to restaurant, wine. And by the way, like this, like, I've never asked you this as a friend. Was the wine thing a byproduct of the restaurants? Or was that hand in hand?
No, so I told this story a few times about how my dad was an athlete and my mom never cooked, right? I think, and so we ate out 7 days a week in Sacramento. Like I would eat at DeChico's on Thursday night for Italian. We would have this Chinese restaurant on Tuesday night. We would eat. We would go down to the pavilions, eat at Piatti. Like we always had like these different restaurants because my mom never cooked.
Wow.
We ate out every single night, and so my comfort is to go eat at a restaurant. That's my home cooking. So whenever I'm out by myself or with friends, I will go to a bar, eat, and I'll be like the most relaxed experience I'll ever have. When I eat at home, I love it. Clea is a great cook, but
She's an awesome
it
cook.
doesn't.
It doesn't resonate with
No,
you.
and I know she she won't be listening to this because she's not very technologically. She doesn't do social
doesn't- she
media, let alone I doubt she's
doesn't do
ever listened to a
podcasts.
podcast.
I'm sending Kalia this podcast.
Yeah,
100%.
We're gonna clip it
But
up.
Kalia,
Send it.
so almost every night, and I thank goodness no one looks at my statements of my cards because you will find me eating dinner at a restaurant at 4:30 to 5:30 before I go home to eat dinner.
Wow.
So I'm always like,
Wow.
I will
What a
go.
life.
And in case you don't know
And
Marcus that well, you won't ever see him really eating, by the
Yeah.
way.
He's
He'll,
just
like,
there?
He'll like have a nibble and then that's it. And then there's me and I'm like, give me
Well, I don't go to
everything.
dessert because I don't
I'm
work
you.
out.
That's me.
So
Yeah.
so that was one of my questions, man. I was here one time and he told me the secret to looking so young for so
Yes.
long. What is that secret?
Don't work out.
There it is.
No
man.
exercise.
I came here with one of my fittest friends in the world, and he dropped it on us, and we looked at him and was like, man, I can't even argue with you.
I know. Well, it's hard when Marcus, like, yeah.
Well, it's
That's your genes, man. Your
It is.
genes
It's
are-
his
you know
genetics,
what?
for sure.
Give a shout out to your mom and dad right now because I swear
They're
you got to look as
amazing.
good as you look because of them.
yes, and the wine.
and the wine.
No, but I really believe that. I really made up this in my head was like the car thing, right? People that collect cars, they put them in the garage and they never drive them, and they sit with like perfect engines. So if you don't over exercise your body like muscles, then it's never going to get ruined in age. So your body is still like 20 internally, but if you work out all the time, you're going to stress them out. You're going to be 70 one day.
I'm
you're gonna
being
be 50.
So if I'm hearing this, drink a lot of good wine and don't work out.
Exactly.
You guys listen to this, Kendra. Drink a lot of good wine.
Yes.
Aunt Liz, drink a lot of good wine.
I'm not gonna lie, man. You know I like to work out.
Oh,
I can't
you
even
work out
I can't even argue with
No,
this
no,
guy,
no.
man. You're so right, man.
He works out at 4 a.m.
I know. So does Kalia. They both. I mean, and I just,
I mean, I'm up at that hour, but I'm not working out.
I don't know.
What are you doing?
I'm
that for?
working.
Working.
I just don't understand.
Uninterrupted.
Honestly, like everyone's like, it feels so good to be sore, and I'm like, that doesn't make sense to my brain.
Oh man.
Like I don't understand.
That's so good.
So good to
I
be
can't even argue with
No,
her.
but people are like, and they're stretching or they're holding their knee when they're eating dinner. I'm like, what's wrong? They're, oh, I just ran like 10 miles and I lifted. I was like, okay. I was like, but it looks like you're in pain.
So let's
so good.
let's cut back. So
love it.
you described all of your
Yes.
lessons about eating out.
So I was already comfortable in restaurants, so I had no fear in the restaurant world. So as I was going to college, I had this mentor. His name was Jacques Bear. He was a chef, and he worked under Julia Child. Had no idea even who Julia Child was at the time. I was 21 years old, or
God.
like around that age, and he taught me what a pink peppercorn champagne vinaigrette was on a salad, fava bean, and I'm 21 and I'm eating lamb chops, drinking Chianti or drinking Chateauneuf de Pops as my first wine experience.
What?
So I didn't know. I didn't know that Chateauneuf de Pops, champagne vinaigrette
that's
with
not
pink
normal.
peppercorn, lamb chops. Like this is just a French. He was south of France, Provençal chef, ratatouille kind of thing, and it was a restaurant. It was called Medallion, and I remember being the only server at this restaurant. He was the only chef in the back, and so I would go out to the tables, and this is in suburbia, like Sacramento suburbia, like Fair Oaks, Roseville, Folsom. Roseville wasn't even established back then. It was
I was
just
like,
Douglas.
Roseville didn't exist then.
Yeah, it was just like Douglas Boulevard was the whole street. And I remember going out to this table, and I'll never forget it because the guy's like, "Can I get some salt?" So I go back to the chef, and I was like, "The table wants salt." The only table in the restaurant, I'm like, the guy wants salt. And he looks out there, and he's like, "Go tell him he has the hair on the wrong side of his head," because he was bald with a beard.
Oh, my
And I was
God.
like, "What? I have to go out there because you're not going to give him salt? Like, the dish is so perfect." He's like, "You have to go out there." And it's like, "No, you don't get salt." And I was like, okay. So I went out there and I was like, "We're out of salt." And the guy looked at me like I was crazy. And then finally I snuck out salt. I was like, because there's always, you could sneak things around chefs all the time because they're not paying attention. So I learned from him the quality of ingredients and making everything from scratch. He made the most amazing cheesecake. I still haven't had a better cheesecake. And this is in the early 90s.
Wow.
Fast forward, Clea and I are coming back from Kauai, where she was born and raised, and we were in Sacramento, and there was a new restaurant that just opened up called River City Brewing Company, and River City Brewing Company was in K Street Mall, and it was privately owned by a family, the Pereira family, and Annette Pereira had a brasserie, brewery, and a restaurant, and it was the most high-end brewery that was where every beer had its own glass. So Hefeweizen, Pilsner, lagers, ambers.
This will tell you how far we've come, but carry on.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Seriously.
and all the River City, the food was such 90s. It was all tall, like eggplant. I remember the ingredients because back then, if I walked in with a wrinkled shirt, she wouldn't even let you on the floor. Wow. If you didn't have, you would walk in, get your shift, and she would ask you 5 questions about the menu, and you had to recite every ingredient. And I remember they had an octopus salad, calamari salad that had like 9 ingredients, and it was back in the 90s when there was like so much stuff going. And then we had to know what was in the brasserie next door, like all the different cakes and everything. So you were just memorizing things. So when you went to, and it was a brewery, so it wasn't even like
It's a brewery.
it was a brewery.
Hey, but hold on. This was one of the only restaurants back then that was like, I feel like in Sacramento.
So a lot of Patrick Mulvaney, like
Yeah.
Sacramento did a whole thing, all the people that stem from River City Brewing Company, and there was a lot of chef restaurateurs now, and servers that are still in the industry on their own thing. So at that point, with with Annette, the way she trained me was she took me to San Francisco, and we dined at Lake Colonial, Globe.
That place is
Really?
amazing. That's French Vietnamese.
Fresh Vietnamese,
Yeah.
and
French.
and we would go from happy hour from like Aqua to 3:00 in the morning to Globe, where you can still get a lamb chop or osambuca or whatever. And she would always go, "What this whole day? What have you experienced?" And she's like, "Customer service." She's like, "No matter where you came from, if it's basket food or white tablecloth food, it's all about customer service.
Yep.
And treat people
Yes.
like you don't know where they're coming from, so treat them the same."
I love this.
And so Annette was the big mentor because, I mean, everybody did not like her at the time because she was so hard. Like she wouldn't let you slide. You would have to start as a lunch server, and then maybe become a dinner server. There was 2 different like classes. Like you couldn't work doubles. You couldn't start off at that restaurant just work dinners. You had to earn your way to the dinner service back in the
love
90s.
that.
So I had this like, and that's my training. So that's how I thought everybody was.
You thought that was the norm.
I thought that was the norm. I didn't know about fast food, like fast casual restaurants. There wasn't a lot of restaurants back in the 90s that were in that modern contemporary space. It was all the old school things in the pavilions, Bibas and all the, even Fats and stuff. But then I remember being at a barbecue. River City got sold in 98, and it was a crazy thing because we got a lawsuit and all that kind of fun stuff. But it was fun because I was the only person managing this restaurant that wasn't family, and there's 4 of us. So that's where I really cut my teeth in how to manage and understand, because we were doing like $3 to $4 million a year in the restaurant, and we were making our own beer, and it went
Is that
from,
good or bad? I don't know.
It's pretty good. Yeah, now you can make it if you're only doing that in a sense, unless you're like, well, that's here or there. It's all, but yeah, no, it was really good because we were making our own beer. We didn't bottle or keg, so it went from tank to tap. So a lot of everything was fresh and product oriented. So then I was, this is 1998, and I remember being at this barbecue, and I was with Tamara Nelson at the time, Randall and Nancy's daughter. And the kitchen, we were just moving from Marconi to Howell and Hurley, the location.
Yep.
And Tamara goes, my Randall has to meet you. I need to introduce you to Randall. You need to come work at the kitchen restaurant. And I was like, sure. I didn't know much about the kitchen except for the demonstration dinner there. Meet Randall. We hit it off. I was the first restaurant person they hired. So before, the kitchen was always ran by caterers or just random people that can help out. So it was like the friends of Nancy and Randall, like they weren't, that wasn't their gig. So being the first restaurant person, Randall is such a chef, he doesn't like front of the house people. So he wouldn't even talk to the front of the house back then. He would be like, he would always have his little liaison of somebody to like, to talk to you. And so long story short, I finally, after 1 year, got Randall to trust me to run the kitchen for him. And I did that to 2004. And that's when I left to do our L Wine Lounge. And in that time, I became a wine representative for Paul Bullard, and that's when I started selling Bryant Family, Marcus, and Marnelli to all the local grades, from David Berkeley to Cordy Brothers, Firehouse.
You're going way back.
so
Firehouse, by the
seriously.
way, has a phenomenal wine list.
They do.
And
They
it's
do.
a very weird place. Like when you go to Firehouse, it's like you're like, I feel like I'm in my grandma's living room right now. But their wine list is phenomenal. But let's
It
just
is.
let's give Marcus his credit, because I wanted to say this for Sacramento natives. Sacramento was boring as hell back then when you opened up that restaurant. And that was one of my favorite restaurants, and like RIP L Wine Lounge, but it really did bring you here. So thank you for opening up that restaurant,
Yes.
because like when I came there, you were always there. Kalia was always there. I feel like every time I went there, your wife was there, you were there, and everyone was having a good time.
And the crazy part is that when I look back, I was 29, she was 27 years old.
That's
we thought we
so
were so
wild.
Crazy.
We were running and opening this restaurant across from the Capitol Visiteri Colocatrones in the 1801. We were part of that development. It was a time where we had to save the Kings. We had to build a Midtown, the Handel District. I remember like naming the Handel District, like sitting in meetings going, how do we separate Midtown? And it was like the Handel District is the handle off the Capitol. So the Handel District gets born.
This is crazy. To hear
Yeah,
this.
and then the Midtown Navigation. So there was all this like crazy, and as a restaurateur, I never would have thought how hard it is to do all that other stuff, like save the Kings, speak on the Senate floor for minimum wage, do all this other stuff, and not even do your restaurant. Coming to Napa Valley, all I had to do was food and wine. I don't have to, I didn't have to go and do more.
If you would have rolled back in time, and told yourself this is what it was going to end up, would you even believe yourself?
That's a good question. I think I would have. Well,
You were 27, 28 years
Yeah.
old, thinking you're old in the industry at that time.
Oh, I was ready to retire.
That's what I'm saying. Like, would you have believed yourself?
Yeah,
No.
I've always had the carpe diem type of attitude, and
Yes.
I always believed in leisure. I've always believed live where you want to retire. So when you have the day off, you're where you want to be.
I love that.
And so I've always, I don't know, like, if I was, I don't know.
This is
Sacramento to me was like, I don't know. Yeah, I can't even imagine.
Hey,
if like
I got him to stutter.
Yeah.
I'm
Two
happy
questions-
about
two-
today.
two
He's
questions.
Yeah.
stuttering on that.
Yeah,
guy.
he is,
we only
actually.
have
Wow.
we only have 10 minutes left
Okay,
because
cool.
they're kicking us out. Sam came. He said they have a gathering
Yep.
here, so we got two questions.
Yep.
We're gonna start with Angelina and Marcus. Carlton.
So I need to say this before you even speak about Carlton. You're going to cost me some money, and my dogs are going to have a new friend
Marie, if you're listening to this,
that
you
isn't a dog.
do not
Can
need
you explain
a pig.
to the audience who Carlton is
Marie.
and why I'm talking smack right
Marie,
now?
Marie.
Yes.
No pig.
Carlton is my mini potbelly pig. He is a rescue that my sisters somehow brought from Arizona all the way back home and ended up in my backyard. So Carlton,
and not only ends up in your backyard, but ends up in under your dining room table.
under my dining room table too.
Who
every now and
thinks
then.
he's a dog, and your dog
He does.
thinks he's a pig.
Yes, and my cats think they're dogs.
Oh my
and I think they're all confused on what they are.
Well, Angelina, she used to tell the story of that first week when Carlton came to the house and had his, and how long it lasted.
Yeah, Carlton, he came into the house unexpectedly. I wasn't expecting to get a pig. I jokingly said, yeah, sure, I'll take him, but thinking my sister, because my sister has literally an animal farm. They have 5 dogs, 5 horses, 20 sheep, 2 emus, 50 chicken. I mean, you just name it, they've got it all. And the recent acquisition is 2 heifers, which are cows, by the way, female cows, and then they have a bull. The idea is that they want to live off the grid and be sustainable and provide for themselves, which is awesome. So I naturally was like, yeah, sure, if you don't want him, I'll take him, thinking, yeah, my sister's already got all these animals. And her boyfriend was like, absolutely not. The pig is not coming to our house. So I come home, open up the garage door, and I've got a pig in my backyard.
The cutest pig ever.
And his name is Carlton Bond Mondavi. So,
Grand.
and he came with the name Carlton Bond. We just changed the
really?
last name, and he lives in harmoniously with my animals.
But the question I asked was, because it's so fascinating how long a pig
Lives?
urinates.
Oh,
Oh,
7.5 minutes.
7
So
and a
she
half
walked in
minutes.
and she had her pig urinate under her dining room
Babe,
table
Under-
it ain't
for
happening.
7.5 minutes.
Under my dining room table. So if you guys don't realize, so by the way, if you do
Renee's
not
like
realize,
9.5 easily.
if you do not realize,
That's
pigs are very
Too much
territorial and they are
Nine
very
and a
much like cats. They're just as vindictive as cats.
Oh,
So, and this whole urinating session happened because I got him about the same time that I started dating my boyfriend, who I'm still with now, 2 years later. And there's very much a testosterone battle between these two. And I don't know
Do the pig and your boyfriend have pissing contests?
they don't have pissing contests, but Carlton's idea of how he's going to dominate is pissing under my dining room table.
for 7.5
For
minutes.
7.5 minutes.
goodness.
So his
So
tushy
once again,
is
her house is for
outside.
sale.
Oh
Just
my
remodeled.
It is not for sale.
It is for sale.
So let's end on this, Marcus. Marcus, real quick.
Yes.
I'm sorry for
Yeah, no, do it.
stealing your thunder, but raising kids in St. Helena.
Yes.
Let's just hear what that's like.
Raising kids in St. Helena is probably one of the best things I ever did, and I'm pretty selfish. Like deciding to do a project here in St. Helena was because Clea and I, not because of the kids. But after bringing the kids here and seeing how they thrived, it was way more beneficial to raise them here, especially with our lifestyles of being entrepreneurs and building and restaurants and to understand the value of a dollar, like Angelina kind of pointed out
Yeah.
as she was growing up. Kids out here really understand the value of the dollar because they see the hard work of the farming, the longevity of it takes to make a dollar, and the passion that people have, and the respect and care of other people's properties. And so, the things that these kids have learned now that I do have a college student.
What's
and a
his name?
senior- Mason and Micah.
And where's Mason working right now?
Mason's at the Four Seasons.
Will
and
we
he
see him
is-
tonight?
We might. He is. He's going to San Diego in January to work at the Four Seasons down there and finish hospitality
excited
school.
for him.
So awesome.
And then Micah is a senior in high school, finishing up basketball, playing baseball, play baseball for college, and then we'll see where it takes him. So yeah, raising kids here is I can't imagine, especially for my lifestyle, being in the restaurant world and wineries and hospitality. You're around your people. The kids are kind.
Well, I think one of the things we also were all raised to learn how to speak to adults with respect and have that. We had no choice because half of our like my parents, they always had dinner parties, or my grandparents had dinner parties, and you're on display, you're helping, you're either hosting or you're, bringing a platter of food or nibbles for them before dinner sat, and then we would disappear. There's something about this valley that like raises kids to understand, because the adults talk to the children as if they're adults at 13 years old.
Yeah.
You just don't see that in a lot of regions around the world. And I've traveled all around the world, and I've never seen it quite like how it is here.
Yeah.
And that's something that's unique. And your boys are, they're
They're angels.
they're amazing.
I got the pleasure to have a round of golf with your wife and your son,
yeah.
and it was the best day ever with them. You did a good job, and at the same time, amazing family that you have. We can't thank you enough
Let's go.
Yeah.
for having us here today. We had a
hope.
blast, and
Thank
thank you
you.
so much for listening, you guys. We're
Thanks for
out.
having us.
Thanks for
go.
having us.
I hope that was.
Oh, it's the best.
I'm so
We just got to get out of here for him.